From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief digital strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's show, I have Chris Silvestri with me, and we're going to talk about research and copywriting. Sit back, relax, enjoy. The SDM show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here, and today I have my guest Chris Silvestri, and we're going to talk all about research and copywriting. How are you, Chris?
Hey Rob, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, such a pleasure, and thank you. You're coming to us from the UK, are you not, if I recall?
Yes. I'm originally from Italy, but moved to the UK in 2018. So established here for a while, enjoying the bad weather and the bad food.
Yeah. The two reasons to go to the UK, right? Rainy weather
Yeah.
and food
Oh,
and by the
apart
way,
from the,
Canada can,
yeah, Canada's pretty
can
similar. But apart from that, like the south of England, where I'm at, it's
yeah.
not that bad. So I would say it's fair.
Yeah. So let's kind of jump in and find out how did you start doing copywriting and even more so research and copywriting? How did that story come about?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a whirlwind of things coming together. I was a software engineer for 10 years in industrial automation, so programming automatic assembly machines, those that you see in factories that basically replace manual labor. And in that work, there was a lot of putting yourself in other people's shoes because I had to also program the displays, the devices the operators use to control those machines. So it was a lot of empathy, putting yourself in other people's shoes. Then at the same time, I'm also a drummer. I've been playing for 25 years now, and at that time, I was pretty heavily involved with my band. We used to go and tour Europe. We did Russia a couple of times, but it was always a hassle because I had to ask for time off like 3 months in advance. I had my full-time job. It was a nightmare, and so I wanted something more flexible. So what did I do? I went online and started searching for how to make money online. And I stumbled on a couple of things. I tried an Amazon FBA business selling yoga straps from China. I tried SEO logging. I tried a lot of different things online back in 2014. And nothing really stuck, nothing really worked until I stumbled on copywriting. And I was instantly hooked by the psychology behind it, the understanding of the decision-making process that you need to have, the persuasion aspect. And so I started studying on the side, weekends at the same time when I had my full-time job. Did that for a couple of years, and then when I saw that I was making like $1,000 on the side a month, I said to myself, maybe it's time that I take the plunge and try this full time. So at the same time, I moved from Italy to the UK as well, launched my freelance business, and then I did a couple of years as a UX designer at a startup turned an agency turned usability testing startup, learned a lot of things about UX research. After a couple of years of that, then I went back on my own with Conversion Alchemy, which is my current business in 2021. And so far, I've been trying to combine all the things that I've learned as a software engineer, as a UX designer, but then merging them with copywriting, messaging for mostly B2B SaaS companies.
Yeah. And what I'll say is B2B SaaS companies, as a rule, do not do a really good job of copywriting.
And especially enterprise companies. You might have
Yes.
seen the classic jargony copy on most of those websites.
Yeah. They really don't know how to do it. It's an ongoing issue. And so I thought we'd dive into, we were talking a couple weeks ago about the research and copywriting. Why is that so important? And
Yeah.
even more so, how much is AI a part of that today?
Mm. Yeah, so what I always tell my clients is that research is 70% of my work. So when we start working together, I always tell them expect at least, depending on the total scope of the project, but at least a month and a half is going to be research because then the copy writes itself. And the way that I see research, I have a very structured process, kind of a system that I always hope my clients take into consideration and kind of try to install into their businesses because I know that once that's set up, then it's always easier to constantly improve, iterate on what I produce, so they're not left on their own devices once we are done. And the way that I see research, which also makes it easy to use and combine with AI, which we can talk about later, it's think of research as kind of an iceberg, right? You have the part outside of the water, which is kind of the surface layer, and that's what users say. So that's all the stuff that's already available to most companies, like maybe they have sales recordings already done, so they can go in, look at the transcripts, or maybe they have reviews from review websites for SaaS. There's a couple like Capterra, G2, reviews for competitors, even if they don't have their own. So all of that stuff is really good to collect. And that's what users say. The second layer, which kind of is already the submerged layer, it's the structural layer, which I see as the experience. So what users do on their website, because something that a lot of marketers, even copywriters miss, I think, is that it's considering the user experience of copy. So how do people consume the copy that you write? And that's why I put a big focus on wireframing my copy, laying it out in a way that's clear, what flow you need to follow to consume the copy the right way so that you get to the final call to action. And for to understand that side of things, this the UX structural layer side of things, there's things like looking at heat maps, user recording, so all of the user interaction data that you can have installed or tracked on your website, all of that is super helpful. And or you can run usability testing. So in B2B it might be a bit harder, but it's still you can do it with a couple of B2B messaging testing platform, or you can do it with AI. We can dive into that after. The final layer, it's the deeper layer. It's kind of the why users act. Why do they take those actions? So to understand that, we focus a lot on qualitative data. So really interviewing customers, running qualitative surveys, but also looking deeper into competitor messaging to understand, okay, what level of awareness, sophistication are competitors addressing so that we can also try to mirror and take the good things that they're doing, but differentiate ourselves. So all of that data, really understanding the decision-making process when I interview customers, it's not really to ask them about what did you like about the product or what would you like to see done better. It's more for understanding the before, during, and after their decision-making process. It's really like mapping out how they make decisions and why they act at the end. So yeah, I have this kind of a three-layer approach that then becomes, once that's set up, it always becomes easier to collect new data, refeed it into your system or AI, and then optimize based on it.
Oh, that's really cool. Does is part of your research also looking at the competitor to that company? You mentioned competitors. Do you actually go in and look and say, okay, what's your competitor doing? What's he saying? So you can attack that as
Yeah.
well, so to speak.
Yeah, totally. So I always tell my clients, look at competitors, but don't copy them. So that's a
Yep.
big point because a lot of them just go on website and say and see their value position headline and okay, let's steal it, ethically steal it. And the way that I like to look at competitors, so there's this super simple framework that I use to understand other websites or in general websites copy. So looking at
Yeah.
any page, if you divide it into these 3, 4 areas, you can understand basically any narrative or any flow of the copy that you're looking at. So basically the first one, it's motivation. So what is that's bringing people to this page, and how is this company matching that motivation? What are their desired outcomes
Yeah.
or the struggles or the trigger points? The
Yeah.
second part, which is usually the below the fold, is the value. How is the company presenting what they do, who they do it for, and how uniquely, better, differently? And which is all about the features, differentiators, but also ways of doing things, approaches, maybe support can also be another one. And the last part of kind of the core of the page is the anxiety section, which is
Mhm.
addressing all objections that people might have,
Yeah.
or how do they use social proof to address those objections, what kind of personas they use in their social proof that can tell you who they're speaking to. So all of those little things. And then finally, the final section is typically the call to action, but it's very helpful, I found, to understand and dissect any piece of copy by motivation, value, and anxiety. It's super simple. Anyone can do it, and it can really help you, give you the insights that you need to actually write your own copy rather than stealing it.
Yeah, and to be fair, stealing it doesn't really help you because it just doesn't differentiate you from your
Yeah,
competitors. It just makes you the same. So if every website's the same, every piece of copy is the same,
exactly.
who does the customer go to? Like, not
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah,
And
totally.
you
And
would be,
and you're totally right. Like, differentiating is also, it's not only about the copy that you write, but it's also about your unique point of view, your unique insight that you offer. Like,
yep,
what's your
yep,
view on the industry, the market, that tells your customers that you've thought about this, that you are unique because you approach it from a different angle, maybe. So all of those things, you can't really copy them from competitors. So you have to inject your own.
yep. Yeah, and this is why I like the book The Inside Advantage so much, by
Yeah.
Robert Bloom. It talks about exactly this, is finding the things that make your business unique and different and stand out, and stop fighting all these wars on price, which we all know sales companies just love to do.
Yeah.
They fight the price battle, and the price battle is, in my books, is a losing proposition 101, right? It's
Yeah, yeah,
so
totally. Especially now with AI, where basically everything's becoming commoditized because everyone has got
yeah.
AI in their own platform.
So yeah, so let's go there. So I agree with you, but I don't agree with you. So the I agree it's become commoditized, but if it was so easy, every business owner would do it all with AI and they wouldn't use people like you and I to do stuff
Mm.
for them. So I would humbly disagree that the average business owner doesn't know how to use AI, and really it's not their job.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's commoditized in the sense that everyone can use it, but doesn't mean that everyone can produce good work with it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, I think our job as like marketers, copywriters, it's
Mhm.
more and more going to be that of kind of architects, orchestrators, and
Yeah.
editors, because we have
Yep.
that kind of intuitive sense, but also the higher level vision of the strategy behind it. And that's what probably businesses who use AI don't really have, and that's maybe why they end up producing lower quality work, because they don't have that kind of sense and the high level view.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. It's one of the reasons I don't call my business an agency anymore. I call it a digital concierge. And the reason
Ooh,
I do is because I kind of put all the pieces together. And
mm,
AI is one of those pieces. So,
yeah,
and that's what I do.
yeah, I
So
like it.
I changed the framing of that about 8 months ago, and it's actually gone over really well because
Nice.
of that. Let's jump in AI a little bit more, because it's hard to have this
Mhm.
conversation and not mention those two letters. It really is in this day and age. Um, How much are you using AI as part of your process, and which AI tools do you like and why?
Yeah, I use it pretty much everywhere, every stage. So for
Mhm.
research, what I do, it's typically I conduct my own like human research with real customers, like interviewing my clients' customers, looking at competitors and collecting information. Um, writing surveys. I can use AI for setting up and helping me write some of those surveys or like the questions that I ask in interviews based on the personas that I have to speak to, just to give me more ideas, just because I have my own frameworks and processes. But it's always good to get the that different perspective, especially when you're someone like us that's constantly changing a niche, constantly looking at different
Yeah.
clients. So you might want to get more of a fresh perspective. And then for analysis strategy, I use obviously AI to synthesize some of the documents, all the sales, all the call transcripts, analyze them, categorize them by themes, all the reviews. It's very helpful. It's still not, I still don't trust it. I don't know if you found a solution, but for example, for giving you like specific numbers out of a lot of data, like if you have a huge spreadsheet with,
Yeah,
I don't know,
sometimes it.
thousands of elements, I still don't trust it. It typically hallucinates and doesn't really give you like the exact numbers. So for that, I try to do it manually. But for extracting, I don't know, the top themes, the priorities, all of those, like to give you a sense of the total of the thing, the context is very good.
Mhm. I
And
found, not to stop
yeah,
you, but I found with numbers and data, I tend to use Excel and
yeah,
when I'm doing data, and I find if you're going to do data extraction, Copilot is the way to go.
yeah.
Because Copilot is Microsoft's AI product. And
So you use it
Copilot's,
inside
yeah,
Excel, for example.
you can use it inside Excel, and Copilot
Mm,
is actually built into Microsoft 365, formerly Office
uh,
365. So it's already built in now. Hence why Microsoft just increased the price of the product. That's how
yeah,
they
I'm waiting
just
for something for Google Workspace because I'm mostly Google Workspace. They
yeah,
just added Gemini all over the place, but
they
still,
did.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't think Gemini does as good a job for numbers. And
Mm,
I was saying to you earlier, I use Gemini probably 90% of the time, but for some
mm,
stuff,
mm,
it's still not
yeah,
the best of breed, so to speak. So,
yeah.
but I
But
think
yeah,
it's
so
coming.
for yeah, totally. Every day there's something new. So
Yeah.
for the research strategy, I typically start as well with Gemini just because it's got the biggest context window. So
Mhm.
I really like having like a huge amount of data that I can share with it, especially at the beginning where it's still not crystallized into a specific strategy. So I share all the
Yeah.
interview transcript, even the proposal from with my client, just to have it understand the context of what we are trying to achieve, and all the research. So I basically create like a kind of like a marketing assistant chat that can help me throughout the process at the beginning. Then when I transition into the strategy, so I work with the client on the strategy, I do the workshops, we crystallize our, for example, positioning, messaging strategy into specific documents. That's when I use AI to help me write some of those, for example, value proposition or the messaging framework that I have in place. But then at the same time, in those cases, and that's when I use Claude, just because it's better at writing. And I find once you start narrowing down the problem to more specific things that you're looking at. For example, we got the positioning, I shared the positioning. We got the messaging, I shared the messaging. Then
Yeah.
with those two frameworks, Claude, even though it doesn't really have a lot of memory, you can really think well with that stuff that you already basically filtered down to. It can help you write very good messaging and copy. So I use that, but at the same time, it's very like back and forth. I have it write something, I edit it myself, I tell it, okay, this is how I want it
Yeah.
to write, this is the voice that I want to keep, and then slowly it starts learning what I want. Once I
Yeah.
see that I have a good result, then I basically can start scaling that. And that's when we get to the copy stage. That's when I share. I typically use this other tool that's called Team GPT, which is a collaboration AI tool where it's connected to the APIs for Anthropic or OpenAI, and you can have a shared chat with your team. So I have it shared with my junior copywriter, and we collaborate on copy, but using the same exact voice, tone, messaging strategy, because everything is shared in the client project inside that LLM that we use. So we basically can collaborate on the same exact consistency, style, and everything. And yeah, again, that's kind of a very iterative process. We have it write something, we edit, and we typically find that once we've done the whole website, that chat is basically ready to replicate our work almost to a T very efficiently. I still have to get to the point where I deliver the client the actual chat as a
Yeah.
product that they can use. But that could be something maybe in the future, or like an additional service that I could offer. We'll see.
That's really interesting. And the point is, there's no one size fits all in the AI world. Like
No,
you're
no, no,
using
no.
multiple tools, as we're talking about, to do your thing. And we're talking copywriting, but even more so, if you get in images and stuff, then there's all kinds of tools. So it's
Yeah.
like choose, right?
Yeah,
I
there's
think,
even like a few other ones. There's Perplexity. I've been using for some
yeah,
research, specifically for to research on Reddit or social media or academic papers. Or there's Notebook LM that's pretty handy
yeah.
when you want to limit your search to only specific documents that you have, because you can select the sources that it goes and looks at, and it also doesn't add its own intelligence to it. It's basically just retrieves the information that you share with it. So it's a different use case.
I love Notebook LM. I have to
Yeah.
tell you, I use it
Did you
almost
try
every day.
did you try the new mind maps that they have? It's crazy.
No, but I'm about to because I am a mind map junkie. So that
Oh,
is
that's crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's on my
Check them
list of
out.
things to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, like these tools. And I think you're better off standardizing with three or four tools, because one of the cool things with AI tools is they tend to adjust themselves for you. Like they
Yeah.
they start to learn what you're asking and what you're looking for. So I find the more you use certain tools, the better they get. And I find that a
Mm,
lot with Gemini now. I've been using it so long that when I throw something at Gemini, it knows exactly what I'm looking for.
mm. And do you use the Gemini 2 Flash now?
I do very much so. I'll tell
Mm,
you a cool experiment I did last Friday. I was out with my partner, and I said to her, let's try something. Let's throw your name into AI and see what comes up. Now, she is not on the web. She's
mm.
an admin assistant for a major insurance broker. So I'll tell you that. But she has been mentioned in a couple of my podcasts, and she's generally, my podcast is dedicated to her, and she's been mentioned. Do you know Gemini actually went into the podcast and pulled the information?
Oh wow. Can he actually search?
Yeah,
I didn't know that he can search. Ah,
yeah, it can.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Wow.
and she's like, really? And it said exactly what I thought about, and it was quite interesting. I mean, it wasn't a lot of information, but it was like a 5-line summary.
Yeah, wow.
And it
Yeah.
was just, and she almost fell off her chair. I have to tell you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, the world we live in, Chris, the world we live in. So
Yeah.
let's jump into your business a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about process. What does it typically take you when you do an analysis? You said the research takes about a month. What's the typical process for an average client? Is it a couple months? Is it
Mhm.
6 months? What is it?
Yeah, the whole all projects, which I mean the like the full scope typically are
Yeah.
positioning strategy, I mean research, positioning strategy, messaging strategy, and then the copywriting for typically the website or emails or sales collaterals. Those are typically what we do. Typically can be 2 or 3 months, like a full scope project.
Yeah.
But that's all our projects are typically also involved redesigning the website because the client typically our
Yeah.
clients need to reposition their product company because of market shifts or maybe just launch
Mhm.
something new or they got acquired and so they need to change things. So yeah, typically 2 3 months and start from research, understanding the 3 areas that I always like to dive deep into, as I mentioned, those layers. But for each layer, I also
Yeah.
look at internal research, so understanding the team's perspective, my client's perspective, and the product. Then the external, which means prospects and customers, so that we can understand that transformation that needs to happen before they buy and after they buy. And then the market competitors. So I always try to get as a comprehensive pictures as possible on those three kind of areas.
Yeah. So, and what's the typical size of a company that you'll deal with in terms of either size or revenue, one or the other,
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, so typically Series A to B companies doing, I don't know,
Yeah.
5 to 10 million a year. And
Yeah.
I also work maybe with some startups, but typically already have product market fit. So, or
Okay.
maybe, yeah, so they're kind of like in growth mode. Those are
Yep.
typically my clients.
Startups are hard. I mean,
Yeah.
Toronto's, I don't know if you know, has a large startup community, very much so. A lot of startups think they're coming out of the Ukraine. Some, no, I don't know as much with the war going on, but traditionally, and a lot of them
Yeah.
come out of Israel, which is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Israel
I
is like
think it's
big startup company.
yeah, yeah, it's the Silicon Valley, one of the Silicon Valley brothers here in the other side of the pond.
Yep. There's a really cool book. I don't know if you've ever read it called Startup Nation, and it talks about Israel's startup community. It's just an
Yeah,
interesting read if anybody's into that. As you can
nice.
tell, I'm a major reader in my spare
Yeah,
time that I don't have.
exactly same. I have like hundreds of books in my list.
Yeah, yeah. Those ones I've read actually. So it's
Yeah.
just fascinating. Um, so that talks to. It's interesting when I get into projects like this. Do you ever have a project that you've taken on and you kind of look and say, why did I take that on? And maybe I shouldn't have, or
Uh,
maybe I knew I shouldn't have, but I did anyway, and you regret it. Have you
yeah.
ever gone through that process?
Yeah, I got a couple in the past. Currently, maybe because I optimized my processes and I learned how to better filter from the
Yeah.
get-go. But in the past, some of those projects were when the client, like we started working together, and the client, after I delivered the first couple of things, the client
Mhm.
doesn't really value the research work. So even if we show them, okay, this is all the research that we've done, they basically want to decide like on their own with their own perspective, their own choices. Basically, they don't even look at it. And or when it comes to the actual copy, they start micromanaging everything and just
Oh God.
wanting to change every single word without backing it up with actual why or with the proof or
Mhm.
without even looking at the research that we've done. So those are probably some nightmare projects, but lately I have to say it's been happening very rarely. So I'm pretty happy with the clients that I've gotten
Yeah,
so far.
I think we get better about filtering out bad clients as we go around, right? We've all
Yeah,
we've all been there. I've had
yeah, I've all
nightmares
been
too,
burned.
and
Clients
and
clients
and
get burned by agencies and we get burned by clients. So
yeah, it
it's a
does
bit
it
of a
does
give and
happen.
take. Yeah.
Yeah. Does scope creep ever become a big issue in your business where you put together all this and then the client comes to you and say, I really want more, or is that not as much an
No,
issue?
not really. Because in our case, it's very gradual because the
Yeah.
research tells us like dictates the strategy. The strategy dictates the website, and typically at the start, I try to budget a bit more than what I
Mhm.
think would be needed. Like even for the website pages, if we have to write I know that we have to rewrite the website. I try if I know that the core pages are maybe 10, 15, I try to budget for 20, 25 just in case we need to write more or we need to have
Yeah,
more rounds of revisions. So
yeah.
it's
Are
been
most of
quite
your
good.
what are most of the websites WordPress based or other CMS?
WordPress, a couple of Webflow
Okay.
for now, especially for kind of like newer companies. But yeah, WordPress.
Yeah,
I don't really like touch the back end of websites, but maybe I interact with the designers once it's time to actually implement the wireframes that we do. So I might have
yeah.
that back and forth.
That collaboration. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. Um, Been a great chat. I think people get a great idea of what your process is, how you do it.
Nice.
It's certainly an eye opener for a lot of people. If somebody wants to talk to you about doing some work for them, how's the best way, Chris?
They can find me on my website, conversionalchemy.net. If you want to sign up for a newsletter that I have, or I also have a podcast, they can find on my website. And I'm generally just on LinkedIn talking about what I do, nerding about AI, marketing, all of that.
And thanks so much, Chris. You have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's been awesome.
Thank you. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Chris for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.